Just as God in the Bible designs and creates animals and plants and humans according to his wishes. Now we are learning how to design and create life.
From now on, your name is Kara.
My name is Kara.
Initialization and memorization checked.
Humans are present with many, many others from their species wandering around on this planet. As naked apes, we once tamed fire, and afterwards every form of new technology determined our development. Now that we've cracked the code of life, it will not take much longer before we can start to play God.
The big question is what kind of gods we will be. Will we be merciful and wise gods, or will we be petty, vengeful, and irresponsible gods?
With our biotechnology, artificial intelligence, and nanotechnology, it seems we possess all the ingredients to start our own process of creation. But how to deal with this? And what does it mean for our species? Those are big questions.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think that this is going to be the agenda for the next century, is that we will be involved in deciding, either individually or as a society, who we want to be. What does it mean to be a human?
But I've only just been born! You can't kill me yet! Stop! Will you please stop? I'm scared!
This is Backlight. Will we become gods, or are we making new gods? Due to the emergence of artificial intelligence, humanity is on the eve of great change. Technological development is going so fast and is so far-reaching that we must search for an interpretation of it all. Historian Yuval Harari has developed his vision of the future by studying the past. His Israeli roots are of crucial importance to the formation of his view of the future.
Well, I think that living in Israel and in the Middle East gives you a different perspective on the modern age and on technology in general. Now we live, my husband and me, in this small village, which is exactly midway between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. And I think it's also a kind of metaphor for where I stand as a scientist, as a historian. On the one hand, I see, Jerusalem, with all the religious fervor and the history and the conflict and so forth. And on the other hand, there is Tel Aviv, with all the high-tech and gay parade and vibrant 21st century modern society. And I guess if I lived in a place like Silicon Valley, I would not see the side of reality which Jerusalem represents. But because I live in Israel, in the Middle East, there is no way I'm going to forget the enormous power that religion and mythology and human beliefs have on history. In the end, it's not the engineers that determine what to do with technology. It's the priests and ideologues and politicians. They determine what to do with the technology that the engineers invent.
Harari's story is catching. He effortlessly defines the connection between the past and the future and explains what influence the development of technology has had on humanity. He's now using all of that knowledge to give us his vision for the future.
Looking at the last few decades, humankind had immense achievements, in particular bringing under our control famine, plague, and war. Today, for the first time in history, more people die from eating too much than from eating too little, which is an amazing achievement. More people die from old age than from infectious diseases. And more people commit suicide than are killed by human violence because of the decline in the number of violent deaths. So these are amazing achievements. At the same time, we are also destroying the ecological system. We are also driving more and more animals and plants into extinction. And the new powers that we are gaining now, especially the powers of biotechnology and artificial intelligence, are really going to transform us into gods. And I don't mean this as a kind of literary metaphor. I mean it in a literal sense, that humans are acquiring divine abilities, especially the ability to create and to design life.
We've reached the point where the technology which we ourselves have developed is allowing us to play God. But how are we dealing with this? Because our relationship with new technology has never been self-evident. We're often frightened about it, but also realize at the same time that we would be completely lost without technology.
Yeah, Homo sapiens is a domesticated animal. When we say a domesticated animal, we usually think about cows, about horses, about dogs, but we are as domesticated, if not more, than the cows and the dogs and the pigs and so forth. We still have, of course, the same bodies, the same brain that we had as wild people in the Stone Age. But today, almost all of us are utterly dependent on the huge domesticated network of agriculture and industry and the state and the police. And we can't, you take a human being today and you drop him or her in some jungle or in the African savannah, they will be dead in a few days. They can't survive by themselves. In the Stone Age, in order to survive, you need every day to solve very difficult problems of how to find mushrooms, how to hunt deer, how to escape lions, how to make your own food, your own clothes, your own medicine, how to find your way around the world. You need to know a lot in order to do that. In contrast, today, usually you just specialize in one tiny thing, like teaching history, or sound recording, or being a cashier at a supermarket. And almost everything you need in order to survive and flourish, you don't know how to do it. You depend on this huge system or network in order to do it. I don't know how to produce my shirt. I don't know how to grow my food. I don't know how to build my house. I just know how to write history books. And I get paid for that, and I take this money and I go to the supermarket and I buy the shirt and the food, and if it depended on me, I would be naked and hungry.
But somehow it looks as if we have become an entire organism as mankind.
Yeah, if in the beginning we were basically like just another species of chimpanzee, that you live in small bands, but you rely mainly on yourself and your immediate friends and family. Now we are basically like a species of ants. We live in a huge, huge colony in which each one has this tiny role to play, and we cannot survive outside the colony. And this will only increase or go to extremes in the 21st century because with especially the rise of brain-computer interfaces and biometric sensors and so forth, it is very likely that within, say, 50 years, people will literally be part of a network. All the bodies, all the brains would be connected together to a network, and you won't be able to survive if you're disconnected from the net, because your own body parts, your own immune system, perhaps depends on being constantly connected to the colony, to the network.
It's not yet reached that point. although we're already permanently connected to one another and experience the greatest of difficulty in going offline, artificial intelligence has almost become an indispensable part of our daily lives. We're being warned by those closest to the fire. Elon Musk is calling for legislation that is meant to protect us from the growing power of artificial intelligence. Stephen Hawking goes even further and predicts that the human race will eventually be exterminated. Kevin Kelly, also known as the High Priest of Silicon Valley, disagrees with this.
I'm very optimistic about what's happening and where it's going, but I think the Hollywood fiction of the robots coming in and killing us all, taking our jobs, making us into slaves, is possible but unlikely. I mean, it's greater than zero.
The futurist Kelly does not view the development of artificial intelligence so darkly. We must remain critical, but at the same time utilize every possibility to develop even further.
A warm welcome for Mr. Kevin Kelly.
AI is a buzzword. It's in the hype cycle right now. You're hearing a lot about it. But I hope to give you a couple of different ways to think about it that might convince you that this is actually a very big thing. That's the opportunity that we're headed into, is allowing new tools that will allow us to collaborate and cooperate and share at a scale that was unthinkable before. So that all the phones, all of the chips and all the phones and all the laptops and all the server farms together, if you count up all those transistors, combining all the ones that are connected, if you count up all the links like synapses in the web, if you take up all the storage in the entire world that's connected online, it becomes a very, very big brain. It's operating.
The logic of Kelly, who's co-founder of the technological magazine Wired, is rooted in the hippie movement of the 60s in California. That's where the foundation was laid for the later success of Silicon Valley. People like Steve Jobs found their inspiration partly in Kelly's Whole Earth catalogue, also known as the Bible of the Techno-Optimists, a catalogue with examples of tools which could help the hippies to survive in the countryside, and is sometimes seen as being the predecessor of the search engine. Stemming from that idealistic thought process, Kelly interprets every new technological development. Not afraid to think differently, he's convinced that technology is following the path of natural evolution. Every device is more than merely a device.
This very minute, my phone is connected to some hub somewhere, which is connected to your phone, which is connected to a server and connected to your laptop. And if we round up all the circuits that are connected together and treat this whole big thing of all the machines, all the phones and servers and computers connected together as if it was one big computer. And it's connected to 3 billion human minds. And that convergence is also now being married to Gaia, the system of the planet, the living system of the planet, through sensors and things that we embed into the environment. Those 3 layers, to me, form a single superplanetary organism that I call the holos. It's the whole thing. The machine of all the computers hooked up together.
Kelly's holos theory appears to be the consummation of his ideal. Everything and everyone is connected and, at the same time, feeds the machine with billions of gigabytes of data that is permanently flowing from our brain.
So the real opportunity that these technologies bring us is to allow us, for the first time in the history of this planet and our species, to connect in the billions, in real time, in multiple dimensions, to collaborate and cooperate and make new things that an individual could not, a clan could not, a city could not, a country could not. Only the planet of species, planet of humans, could accomplish, and that's an incredible achievement.
Will it have a mind of its own?
Yes. Yes, if we keep adding brains, artificial brains, and artificial memory to this big machine, it will have thoughts of its own. It probably already has. And the problem is that we don't really have any good tools for detecting it, for understanding it, to understand the meaning of it. So it remains to be seen what interaction we have with that. But if we take the most abstract idea of a thought, if we can give the idea that, a mouse could have a thought, which I think it does, then certainly this global brain will have a thought.
If the superbrain is capable of developing its own thoughts, then there is not much fantasy needed to contemplate the possibility that we could eventually lose the control over this. That is the point about which Yuval Harari is warning us.
You call, let's say, the future, the century of dataism, or the age of dataism.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
In essence, dataism is the idea that if you have enough data on a person, especially biometric data, and if you have enough computing power, you can understand that person better than the person understands himself or herself. And then you can control this person, manipulate them, and make decisions for them. And we are getting very close to the point when Facebook and Google and the Chinese government know people far better than these people know themselves. Democracy and the free market and individualism and liberalism, these are all predicated on the basic assumption that nobody knows me better than I know myself. So nobody should take decisions for me. And nobody really understands how I feel and what I think. And this was true throughout history. Nobody really knew who you are and how you feel. Even if the Catholic Church, or say the KGB in the Soviet Union, followed you around everywhere and always listened to every conversation you have and analyzed it and so forth, they still didn't know who you are. They still didn't really know how you feel and what you think, because they didn't understand biology well enough, and they didn't have enough computing power to make sense of these immense amounts of data. So this was always true, but it's no longer true now, or it won't be true in 10 years. In 10 or 20 years, somebody like Google or like the Chinese government will have enough data on you, enough understanding of biology, and enough computing power to understand you better than you understand yourself, to understand your feelings, your thoughts, your desires, your obsessions. You don't know why you feel the way you feel, but Google knows, or the Chinese government knows.
¿Quién soy yo? No es lo que quiero decir. ¿Para dónde voy? No. Puedo volver a empezar.
It's not a person, but it's a corporation or an entity that we created, but now it is controlling us. It is shaping our society, our views, our decisions. I mean, let's bring it down to the concrete level. It's not abstract. The question is, how do you make decisions in your life? So the individualistic, liberal ideology tells you, think for yourself, follow your heart, do what feels good to you. So if you think, what should I study at university? Or where should I work? Or whom should I marry? The advice is, listen to yourself, follow your heart. In 20 years, the advice will be, forget about your heart, what does it know? Ask Google. Google knows you better. So it can recommend to you what to study, where to work, even whom to marry. People make sometimes such terrible mistakes in the most important decisions of their lives because they don't really know themselves very well. But these algorithms, these systems will know us better. They won't be perfect. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to be better than the average person in order to gain control. And that's the end of all these old institutions and ideologies of individualism and free market and democracy and so forth.
Still, many people are finding answers in their faith, because every God is, of course, all-knowing. But now there's Google, that through its algorithms and artificial intelligence knows us better than we know ourselves. Has the search engine therefore become an oracle?
Do you see it as a new religion?
Yeah, we need to understand what religion is. People think religion is about God. Religion is not about God. Religion is about humans. In essence, religion is a story that gives legitimacy to human norms and values and laws, and that validates a source of authority. Religion is when you have a big question in life and you need an answer. What is the source of authority? Religion explains to you, it tells a story that explains what is the authority that can answer your question.
And so we have come to meet with you this morning to have an encounter with you. Please, Lord, don't let us go away empty-handed in Jesus' name.
Judaism would say, the authority is the word of God in the Bible. You want to know whether two men can marry. You have this dilemma, this question, can I marry my boyfriend as a man? And you ask the Bible. And the Bible says, no, it's a sin. So you don't do it. It's the source of authority. And then you have a modern ideology like liberalism, and it tells you, no, the source of authority is not the Bible. The source of authority is human feelings. You just need to consult your own feelings. If something makes you feel happy and makes your boyfriend feel happy, and you don't harm anybody, then there is nothing wrong with it. Go ahead and do it. If it feels good, do it. This is the basic story of liberalism, that the highest source of authority is not God, it's not the Bible, it's human feelings. So if we understand religion in general as a story about authority, then in the 21st century, we will have a new dataist religion or a new algorithmic religion, which will tell people the source of authority is algorithms, is big data algorithms. If you have a big question in life or a small question in life, the source of authority is the big data algorithms.
So actually you're saying that the ones who are owning the data or have access to the data are the new priests somehow?
The new priests, the new kings, the new gods, whatever you want to call it, yes. Data is now the key to almost everything. It's the most important asset. In the past, like hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, the most important asset was land. And you had these big conflicts. Who owns the land? And then you had the Industrial Revolution, and the importance of land declined. And instead, the most important question was who owns the machines? Who owns the factories? Who owns the means of production? So you had these big conflicts, and we are just now marking the 100th anniversary of the communist revolution in Russia, which was really who owns these means of production? In the 21st century, the most important asset will be data. I'm not implying it's necessarily a bad thing, because it will be a very good thing in many respects.
Mis puntos. ¿Qué hago?
But the thing is that it comes along with a certain dangerous baggage. That people will lose control of their lives. It will be much easier to manipulate people. The very meaning of human life is likely to change, because traditionally human life is seen as a process of decision making, of going through one junction after the other. If you think about great art, like you mentioned A Tale of Two Cities, or you think about the Shakespeare plays, they are almost always about decisions. You need to make a decision. Does Macbeth murder the king or not? Does Romeo go for Juliet or not? You all the time have to make a decision. And it's the same with religion. If you think about Christianity, the great drama is all about decision making. You have to choose between good and evil. And if you choose good, you win paradise. If you choose evil, you go to hell. It's all about decision making. Now, what happens? How does a human life look like when all the important decisions are taken by Google? Just try to imagine your favorite Hollywood comedy or your favorite Shakespeare play. When Hamlet doesn't know what should I do, it just says, Google, what should I do? You know me better. So it could be a much more convenient and easy life for Hamlet if he just allows Google to take the decision for him. But what kind of life is it? We don't know.
The Googles of this world are becoming smarter and smarter due to the algorithm they release on our knowledge. Artificial intelligence is being integrated in more and more of the technology surrounding us. That will have an uninterrupted, greater influence on our daily lives. Where will that development of artificial intelligence end?
Every day there's an announcement about a way in which AI does something that people thought only humans could do. Every day there's an announcement about a new tool used in biology to modify genes. Every day there's something that chips away at our understanding of ourselves, and so that's continuing to increase, and there'll be more and more ways in which we have to reimagine what humans are good for, why we're here, what we're doing. And we're just at the beginning of this. I mean, I think this AI revolution and the genetic revolution is just starting. And when we go into virtual reality, we have these distinctions about whole other dimensions that we haven't even seen, which will also challenge who we are, where we are, how we see ourselves. And I think that this is going to be the agenda for the next century, is that we will be involved in deciding, either individually or as a society, who we want to be. What does it mean to be a human? What should humans be doing? What do we want to do as a human? All these things are going to be coming, again, moving from the esoteric philosophical realm into daily choices that we have to make, daily headlines about our uncertainty about who we are, and I think it's going to become the norm, where we have conversations at dinner table about what we think humans should be and whether we are going to speciate or what we are doing or whether they're human or not. So this is going to become a big thing.
At the end of the last century, the first real trial of strength took place between humans and the computer, the famous chess match between Grandmaster Garry Kasparov and a supercomputer, and the machine won. We were no longer able to deny the role of artificial intelligence.
Almost a resignation on his face. Gary is not, he looks, I mean, he looks very, what, are we missing something on the chessboard now that Kasparov sees?
Garry Kasparov was the world's chess champion, and when he lost about 15 years ago to the supercomputer Deep Blue from IBM, he was very distraught.
Like he can't believe what's going on right now. And whoa! Kasparov, after the move C4, has resigned.
He later on came back and said, you know, Deep Blue had access to every single chess move that was ever done, and that's kind of unfair. Because if I had access to all those chess moves while I was playing Deep Blue, I would have won. So he decided to make a whole new chess league where you could play as a human with access to the databases. And he called the AI human team a centaur. Okay, so centaurs were this combination of the AI and the human together as a team. So I think the image that we want to take a place is not working against these machines that are going to take our jobs, is that we're going to be working with them. You may in fact be paid by how well you work with them. One of the best ways to think about AI in general overall is that it's alien intelligence. It's as if we had contact with another planet and we met aliens. They're going to think differently than us. Their usefulness to us would be that because they think differently. But we'd have these issues of, you know, how do we treat them? Do we treat them equivalent to humans, different than humans? Do they have the same rights as humans? Do they have more rights? And the answer is going to be somewhat, well, it depends on the aliens, because, you know, if we had contact with more than one aliens, there would be some aliens that might be, that we might want to treat very differently. And so we're going to make up thousands of artificial aliens, and we're going to have to decide how we treat them.
Hiroshi Ishiguro is a Japanese robot builder. His robots are not yet very intelligent, but do, however, already possess human characteristics. He's mainly investigating our human responses to these kind of robots.
どうですか？触られてみて。そんなに怖がらないでください。
Well, sometimes the robot is much better than the humans because we don't feel the strong pressure, right? When we talk to the people, right? And sometimes we feel the very strong pressure, right? And but you know, well, the robot is sometimes better, especially for the elderly, autism kids, right?
They're not feared by the robot somehow.
The robot is scary?
No, it's not scary. It's not scary. It's strange.
Okay. Strange? And then why don't you have a seat and just talk, right? It is not so strange.
No.
One of my concerns is that if we treated some AIs or robots like slaves, would that be corrosive to us? Would that stain us? Would that, in some ways, affect our spirit? If we're treating them as slaves, even if they weren't slaves, but if we treated them as if they were slaves, would that affect us? And it probably would. And so we have a bunch of issues about how do we treat these things? What kind of empathy do we have? How do they fit in? And the answer is that we have no idea right now. We don't know. We can think about it, but it doesn't really get us very far. A lot of these things are things that we have to actually only answer through usage.
Yeah. Look, they give her the hug, and
it almost feels intimate. if you touch her or something like that.
But you should try. Come.
I try. So, but
No.
huh? Yeah.
No.
And then, yeah, but it feels so strange. I mean, sort
Why?
of. Well, it feels intimate somehow to touch her and just.
Yeah, like a human.
Yeah, that's true. The only thing is she's cold.
She's cold.
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't mind touching you? Oh, that's good. Thank you.
私は人間型ロボットとして石黒犬で開発されました。アンドロイドの女性型のロボットです。
We are creating artificial intelligence. We are changing our genes. Are we building ourselves into gods, or are we building new gods?
We are doing both. History is messy. It's difficult to just bring it all into a single compartment. So we are moving along two simultaneous tracks. On the one hand, we try to enhance and upgrade Homo sapiens and give Homo sapiens divine abilities. At the same time, we are also creating new external gods like these big data algorithms. And part of the conflicts of the 21st century is going to be a conflict between these two new gods. Would it be the upgraded humans, or would it be the big data algorithms? Not everybody will be able to upgrade themselves, and not everybody will have access to or have control over the new big data algorithms. Of 8 billion people in the world, the vast majority will stay just ordinary Homo sapiens, and they are likely to lose their economic value, their political power, their control over their lives. And we are likely to see an extremely unequal society in which a very small elite, either of upgraded humans or of those humans who own the master algorithms, like the Google algorithm or the Facebook algorithm, and this tiny elite controls the world, and the vast majority of people, they have very little economic value and very little political power.
Oh yeah, 15 minutes. 15 minutes. We are here. It's gonna be epic. Oh my God. So we got great seats. We're ready to go to war.
The steel beasts who rule these lands and guard the secrets buried beneath its crumbling ruins.
People are also afraid because of robotics and artificial intelligence that people will become superfluous somehow, that they become unemployable. What's the meaning of life then in 2030, 2050?
Well, nobody knows for sure what the job market would look like in 2040, but it's likely, it's possible. Given all the technological developments, it might be feasible, even easy, to support people, even if they don't work, to give them a universal basic income, to give them enough food, enough medicine, and so forth. The big question is meaning. What will they do all day? And one of the answers is that they will just play computer games all day, virtual reality games. They will spend more and more time playing virtual reality games that will give them much more excitement and emotional engagement than anything in the real world outside. And this is actually not this is not a completely new idea. You can say that for thousands of years already, people, millions of people, have found meaning in playing virtual reality games. We just call these games religions. If you think, what is a religion? Another way to understand a religion is a virtual reality game. They tell you there are these laws. So you should pray 5 times a day, you should do this ceremony, you should do that ceremony. If you follow these imaginary laws of the game that exist only in the imagination, they're not part of nature, then you get points. If you break the laws, then you lose points. And if by the time you die, you have a positive balance, then you move to the next level, heaven. And people have been playing these virtual reality games very happily for thousands of years. So why not in the 21st century?
Do you have the feeling that we are, let's say, the Neanderthals of the future? I mean, doomed to get extinct?
I doubt whether Homo sapiens will still be around in 200 years. Given the pace of technological development, in 200 years, either we destroy ourselves by some nuclear catastrophe or ecological catastrophe, or we will upgrade and change ourselves into something very different from Homo sapiens. So that in 200 years, Earth is dominated by entities which are more different from us than we are different from Neanderthals. Different bodies, different brains, different minds.
So technology is an extended form of that same self-organization that we find in natural evolution. And one way I like to think about it is that technology is a way for evolution to invent things that it could not just invent with tissue, wet biological tissue. It kind of invented our minds, which then can invent other things, other forms, other ways of making these self-replicating devices like robots in a space that biological forms could not get to by themselves. This is a process that is beyond human. It has its origins in the Big Bang in the universe. So technology is a part of a stream that ran before humans and will run beyond us. We are in the middle, a medium carrying it forward.
If you understand nature in a very broad sense, much broader than biological nature and natural selection, then yes, everything that happens in the universe is part of nature. And artificial intelligence is not less natural than a flower or a human being. It still obeys the basic laws of physics. But again, most people, when they think about nature, what they think is more about biology. And if you think in terms of biology, in terms of biochemistry, of organisms, of natural selection, then no, artificial intelligence and technology in general are going to break out of this limited realm of organic biology and create something completely new.
Some people are asking, have androids become a threat to our security?
Ich hoffe, dass Ihnen das Video gefallen hat. Klicken Sie hier, um das empfohlene Video anzusehen. Bitte abonnieren Sie unseren Kanal, um Updates über VPRO Dok zu erhalten.